It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38 and verse 4. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and will bring thee forth in all the army, horse and horsemen, all the living clothed for all sorts of armor, even in great company buck shields, all of them handling swords. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Wakar Kadash, and the Heavenly Father, but your name is Yahweh, and his only begotten Son, Ba'Hashem. In the name of Hamashiach, Yahushua, those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashma Bashul tongue. And I say Barak them to the elders and apostles, Wa'aki and Wa'akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a sit down lesson of this recent news article as we potentially see the nuclear treaty between the nuclear armed treaty between the United States and Russia is set to expire on February 5th, 2026. And this is a news article from February the 4th, 2026, and reads, The New START Treaty Ending, Moscow reports. Russia has not received any formal response from the United States on renewing the compact. It says the New START Treaty, which means limits the world's two largest nuclear arsenals, officially expires on February 5th, and Moscow has not received any formal response from the U.S. on renewing it. The Russian Foreign Ministry said in a press release on Wednesday, Russia will be ready to decipher counter potential threats, but remain open to dialogue at the lapse of the last remaining strategic arms control agreement with the United States. It added. Last September, the President Vladimir Putin publicly made a stopgap proposal offering to keep observing the treaty limits on armaments for another year after it expires on February 5th, providing the U.S. response in kind. Our idea has been deliberately left unanswered, the ministry says. Moscow now assumes that the party to the New START are no longer bound by obligations or symmetrical declarations. It added, right, so let's give Russia a green light to not be limited with their nuclear arsenal, so they can extend it and upgrade it and increase it. So this potentially might be a nuclear arms race between Russia and the United States, and these are two superpower economical nuclear nations of the United States and Russia. It says the Russian Federation intends to act responsibly in a balanced manner, developing in its policies in the field of strategic offense arms on the basics of a through analysis of the U.S. military policies and the overall situation and the strategic spirit. Simultaneously, Moscow remains ready to seek political and diplomatic ways to comprehensively stabilize the strategic situation on the basics on equal and mutual beneficial dialogues solutions. The ministry says the nuclear treaty, which was signed in 2010 and extended in 2021, capped the number of deploying strategic nuclear warheads and launchers are set out monitoring mechanism for both Russia and United States arsenals. It says Moscow suspended the verification mechanism of the treaty in 2023, citing that Ukraine strikes elements in Russia's nuclear deterrence, accusing the West of actively being involved. In the meantime, the lapse of the New START will lead the world's two biggest nuclear superpowers with no guardrails to their nuclear arsenal. Last week, the Bulletin Atomic Scientists moved the doomsday clock to 5 seconds, close to midnight, and warned of a looming, full-blown arms race between major powers. Right, those major powers are the United States and Russia. Now that Russia has received no response because they open to dialogue and they offer to extend it, the nuclear treaty deal between, both of Russia and the United States. They offer a 1 year, but they haven't gotten a response from the United States ever since then. Now that it's going to expire, so that gives Russia a green light to upgrade more nuclear capability, and they won't be limited to nuclear arms and nuclear warheads, which they continue to upgrade and using more and more and more. This day, if they come under threat from countries of NATO, nations like NATO or the European Union, they have a right to defend themselves, or if they or from the back of NATO or the United States. So now that gives Russia a green light to build up their nuclear warheads and their nuclear arsenal that they already have. So this is going to be a potential of a nuclear arms race once again between Russia and the United States. Now that this nuclear arms treaty deal is expired on February the 5th. And this is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 4. It says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and will bring thee forth in all thy army, horse and horsemen, all of them clothed for all sorts of armor, even a great couple of books, shields, all of them hand swords." Right, so Russia represents the bear in Ezekiel 38th chapter. So Russia is going to be in that warlike mindset, and that's going to upgrade their nuclear capability, and that's not going to limit them from building up that nuclear arsenal of their nuclear warheads. It's going to continue to increase. It's going to build up. So potentially, as I mentioned again, this nuclear arms race is going to heat up between Russia and the United States once again. And this is the prophet Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 17. It says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes," right, the Russians, the Medes. "I will stir up the Medes against them, which they shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it." Right, so for as for gold and silver, they shall not delight in it. So the Medes to the Russians against Babylon. This is the book of Matthew. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars," right, as we've been seeing on and off back and forth tension between Russia and the United States, even though they've been having some type of dialogue, throughout the years recently. So their relationship and tensions have been up and down throughout the years and generations. So we still going to see those tensions between Russia and the United States. And now that this nuclear treaty arms deal between Russia and the United States, which was signed in 2010 and it lasted for 2021 and all the way into 2026, February 5th, which is about to expire. Now you're going to have another nuclear arms race between Russia and the United States. So that gives Russia a green light to build up their nuclear warhead and their nuclear capability without limiting their nuclear warheads of using them. Using them and using nuclear launch and tests. It says, "Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars." This is Matthew 24, verse 6. "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet." Right, so we see wars and rumors of wars. Russia versus Ukraine, the European Union and NATO versus Belarus and Russia. And now with this nuclear arms race against the United States and Russia. So these are wars and rumors of wars that we're seeing increasing. So with that, hopefully this sit down lesson was edifying. As it says again, February the 4th, 2026, as the New START treaty ending, Moscow reports, Russia has not received any formal response from the U.S. renewing the pact. It says the new start of the treaty, which limits the world's largest nuclear arsenals, officially expired on February 5th, right? So it's going to expire February 5th, which is tomorrow. And Moscow has not received any formal response from the U.S. on the renewing it. The ministry foreign minister says in a press release, Russia will be ready to decisive counter potential threats. Right, that's the key word right there. Russia will be ready to decisive counter threats, right? Because if that potentially of the nuclear arms race between Russia and the United States, they're going to be ready and they're going to be decisive with it. Russia will be ready to decisively counter potential threats, right? Potential threats from the European Union and NATO versus Belarus and Russia, and a potential threat from the United States armies of a nuclear arms race. It said Russia will be ready to decisively counter potential threats with remaining open to dialogue. of the last remaining strategic arms control agreement with the United States added. So with that, hopefully this was edifying of this recent news article, as we potentially might see a nuclear arms race heat up once again between Russia and the United States. Now that the nuclear treaty deal was expired on February 5th, 2026, because the time zones are kind of different in the United States in comparison over to Russia. Because Russia is like the next day over there. It's probably like February 5th over there, and over here in America's like February 4th. So this nuclear arms treaty deal is going to expire tomorrow, which is goes into effect tomorrow, unless they have some type of dialogue and some type of discussion of they extend it for another year. But if not, it's going to expire. So that's going to start more nuclear arms race tension between Russia and the United States potentially once again, as I mentioned it numerous times. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakal Kadash, and the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and his unbegotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashwadash, the Holy Tongue. And I say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim Akwaf, and to the next time, we'll say Shalom.